Greetings. Facts you don't know, that is. If this is your first visit, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. You may learn new information that will undoubtedly make you wiser and more knowledgeable. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. In minutes, despair had turned him into a lunatic. That tragic vision of his wife's distraught face and his empty cellar was the last thing he recalled before passing out. While his mistress questioned him, "Man, are you okay?" he went back to his wooden bed. "In what way are you feeling?" The child hardly returned to reality when tears welled up in his eyes. He was distraught. The neighbors arrived to investigate during that controversy and came to the conclusion that the elderly had been robbed. He questioned who could have harmed them so severely with such callousness. It was evident that the locks were completely forced. The Lord's modest home was not luxurious, but the missing tools had amassed a substantial sum of money, which would allow a nearby landowner to potentially sell them. Poor Fidel woke up, comforted by some loving neighbors who gave him hugs and a cup of sour orange tea to help ease his anxiety. It had never happened before that a theft of the like that Fidel and Esperanza had experienced occurred, much less one in which the thieves assaulted helpless elderly men. It was a pretty safe location. The local farmers had offered kind assistance, but the elderly men were certain that things would not be the same. They were a nuisance when they tried to walk, and they had to fend for themselves at all times, even without the assistance of their lone son. The elderly couple had spent almost 60 years together. They had fantasized of having 3 or 4 kids ever since they were married, but Esperanza struggled with hormones, and it took her nearly 35 years to become pregnant. Her lone son, Ramon, was much sought for. He would be the bright spot in the little household. Early in life, Fidel was employed by one of the biggest farms in the area. He was given the task of plowing the lush fields there, which yielded excellent crops of maize and beans. It was customary in those days for women to take care of the home while men dedicated themselves to the fields. Esperanza took pleasure in being sensitive to her son's needs, and she used her leisure time to take up weaving and decorating projects. She was able to earn more funds for her husband's financial assistance through the weaving activities. Clothes in the area she lived in referenced the remnants of the indigenous fashion. She went to town once a week to find supplies to further her inventions. They instilled morals in Ramon. His parents did their best to provide for him as an only kid. Fidel had enough money at work to support his small family. They didn't require a lot of material possessions to be content. Aside from his education, Ramon was responsible for bringing his father food during his early and adolescent years and was kind to them both. It's normal for certain discomforts to develop over time. Esperanza started complaining about her arthritis and then developed high blood pressure issues. Her spouse was constantly worried about his spouse's well-being. The couple decided it would be a good idea to have some storage in case of emergency, so they stored a chest with all of their funds for a year in an old closet in a secured corner. That heist also resulted in the theft of this money. Whoever the culprit was, he had access to the key and was well aware of the location of the money. He also understood just what to steal in order to make money. Fidel quit his work after realizing that he had to be with his wife in this scenario. With the liquidation, he was able to purchase a plow to create trenches in the ground, a rake to level the earth's surface, and a shovel for digging. Fidel's previous employers were grateful and offered him some land to work on so he could support himself and his wife, who was not doing well. Fidel labored for several weeks in the scorching sun to prepare the grounds. Ramon was noticeably absent from this difficult assignment. They always believed that they had rendered Ramon worthless since he was ignorant of the area and his mother overprotected him. For a while now, Ramon had left his house to work as a dispatcher in the staple grain trade. The young guy went home late, having departed quite early. He has been observed hanging around with questionable men. They told Esperanza that the meeting place was a billiard, which made her quite anxious. It was said that occasionally drug sales took place at the billiard. There had been fights in the past, but Ramon's bad luck had come from the very bets that had eaten away his pay. Ramon was determined to exact revenge for his efforts, since he was deeply in debt from gaming and had nothing to show for it. Instead, He owed money to the people he owed money to. They threatened to give him the full amount of time they owed him. Ramon's father frequently questioned him about what his son was doing, but he never offered an answer. All he would say was that he was going to the billiard hall to unwind. This was never known to Don Fidel. Fidel fared well in the harvests that came from his labor in the fields. He had gradually upgraded the house's infrastructure. He had enough money saved up to purchase Esperanza's medications, and there was no shortage of tissue orders. But the woman worked at her own pace because of her health issues. When Ramon's time ran out and she was heading to work, the guys from the billiard hall approached him and demanded that he pay off his obligations. He was unable to solve it, as was to be anticipated. He was given till the evening to comply with their threat of hurting his parents. Before nightfall, the beloved son of Fidel and Esperanza was tormented and nearly felt like a robber when the gentleman, in a moment of carelessness, stole the money that represented years of labor from his parents. He packed it in his backpack and headed out of the house to meet those people. Regretfully, they requested additional money because the amount taken was insufficient. In this instance, they advised Ramon to use 2 oxen or his father's equipment to settle the bill. They could sacrifice the pair of oxen since they held great significance, and recovering them would come at a far higher cost. Ramon had to take the tools down. He set up the entire thing as though it were a heist. He was the sole and closest relative, so naturally they wouldn't mistrust him by happenstance. The equipment found their way to Don Jose's ranch, Fidel's previous workplace. The landowner assumed he would be doing his owner a favor by saving the tools before they ended up in the wrong hands, as he had chosen and purchased them with their owner. Jose plotted how Ramon would make one for the harm he had caused to his parents. Having obtained information from those who had come to sell them, Ramon showed up as they were consoling one another in the shadows. He was unable to conceal the anguish he had caused on his face. Having abused his old man's confidence, he felt helpless. Jose and a few guys bearing the pilfered tools came just as he was concluding that, even at the height of his career, he had accomplished nothing worthwhile. Everybody was staring at them. They had no idea why Jose had their belongings, thus everything was unclear at the moment. The elderly guy and his spouse grinned broadly and planted a kiss on each other. Ramon revealed his identity to Jose, and he confessed his crime to his parents. He realized that his carelessness had cost him nearly everything. The landowner suggested that Ramon use the work points he now had as payment for saving the tools. He would learn how to plow there, just like his father had done before. It would also help him get ready in case he inherited Don Fidel's holdings in the future. Everything was made clear once more. With tremendous humility, Ramon agreed to the terms of the agreement and pledged to work hard to be a nice man who would help his parents. Once more, the family was reunited, and this time, there were no secrets or falsehoods. With a passionate kiss and a firm handshake, the pair said each other farewell to this episode and vowed to support one another always. I appreciate you seeing. Would you kindly like and post the video on social media? We'll respond to you as soon as we can. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.